Go the Rams. Bah!
Adelaide to bring it out from their own line. And met by some very willing Auckland defence. And pushed back a couple of metres. Kerrod just goes from dubbing half, picking up Darren Doherty. 25 metres out from his own line.
As now the Adelaide Rams make their way out onto Marathon Stadium for the first time.
G'day, rugby league fans. Welcome to episode 2 of Rampage, the South Australian Rugby League podcast. I'm Aidan, and I'm joined by Simon.
How you going, guys?
And Darren.
Hello, listeners.
How are you all?
Very good after Origin. Very good. We're about to talk about that, so I'm very good.
Absolutely. So today we'll be talking about round 14, State of Origin, of course, and we also have a special guest later down, which we will introduce. But first things first, State of Origin, Game 1, 2023. Very, lots of opinions going on about State of Origin this year. A lot of questions asked. And I would say that this year's State of Origin, it has had its controversies. But just from my sort of perspective watching it, it wasn't the most exciting Origin that I've ever seen. That's for sure. I was glad that it was hosted in Adelaide, though, however. We'll go into that sort of discussion later on. But obviously Queensland won. That's a given. Queensland is the Queensland team. They started off quite strong. Then Blues, they sort of caught up just in the second part of the first half, and then Queensland just had it in the end. But Simon, why don't you go through a little bit how you thought of Origin? Because you were actually there.
I was there. Me and Darren were there. I went with a few of the Rampage guys. So the Jumback Army were there. We met before the game. Darren was there with my wife. So, yeah, the crowd... we'll start about the crowd. The crowd was like about 15 minutes out. It was a very kind of small crowd, to be fair. And then the last 5 minutes before kickoff, Adelaide decided to rock up. It was a crazy atmosphere. So we got 48,000 there. I agree with it wasn't the best game ever because I think the ref he just too many penalties. He just blew the shit out of that whistle. But the game, yeah, as you see, Queensland started off great, 2 tries early. Then I felt like New South Wales had a lot of possession and they looked dominant for we'll say from 30th minute to about the 60th minute. Then Flegler got sent to the bin and Turbo went off HIA. That's when I thought New South Wales got this. I was like, my wife said, never doubt a Queenslander. And I'm like, I'm not listening to you. It's all over. They've got an extra player. And then Queensland put on 2 tries with 12 men, which is just typical Queensland courage basically. And then that was it. But it could have went either way. It was a very close game. The atmosphere at the ground was quite amazing for 48,000. A lot of people I talked to had never been to a game of rugby league before, and the feedback I got from them, we had to kind of had people tell them the rules, like you got to pass the ball back, this is a penalty, but they were into it, they were actually into the game, which was great because they were all AFL fans. I think it was only 17,000 people came from interstate. The rest were from Adelaide, so that's 30,000 Adelaide people. So,
Origin's a great way to introduce rugby league to people that haven't seen the game for a while because it's basically the pinnacle of rugby league, State of Origin, and you're basically seeing the best of the best. Yeah. When you watch.
And the biff too. There was a bit of biff, which was good to see. It wasn't over the top. I wanted more, to be fair, but to see that a bit of aggression was so good to see. From my viewing point, every time there's a bit of biff, the crowd went wild. And then the chants at the end, the Queenslander chant and the New South Wales chant, Go Blues. The crowd got into it. I don't know how it was on TV. Did you kind of sense there was a good atmosphere, Aidan?
Watching from TV, it felt like it was, looking at the crowd, it felt like it was packed. It felt like it would be a sellout. And seeing that it was 48,000 people, Adelaide Oval's capacity is 52,000, I think.
Yep.
The closer being a sellout, which I think is a fantastic result. Yeah, and hearing the chants on the New South Wales chant, Queenslander chant, that was really good. I really picked that up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I felt that anyone who was watching from home really could see the atmosphere and sort of feel it. That's great. And but yeah, obviously, like I said, Queensland won. I think Blues a little bit sloppy. They've
got room for improvement, definitely. With the players they had, Now they're going to probably have a few out, but they've got quality everywhere. And like, it's obviously going to Suncorp. Game 2 is going to be hard for them because Suncorp, Brisbane, it's going to be sold. It's already sold out. There'll be Queenslanders everywhere. It's going to be crazy.
That's right.
But they obviously have to win. It'll be interesting to see who they pick for Cleary, see if they stick with their centre pairing kind of thing. Turbo, he was a bit of a HOA problem. Latrell coming back. It's going to be an interesting Game 2. But obviously we'll talk about Game 2 next podcast when the Game 2 is going. Darren, do you have anything to add about the crowd?
I was on the hill under the old scoreboard, and that was quite packed. And looking down the oval or up the oval towards the stands, it just looked absolutely packed. No, I couldn't see if there was any empty chairs, but it just looked packed. And just the whole atmosphere of the night, both in the stands and on the hill, was electric. It was excellent.
Definitely. So before the game, as I said before, the Jumback Army met before. We had one of our Jumback Army members bring some signs. Her name's Michelle. She bring us Rams signs. So bring back the Rams. They were all over, I think, Facebook. It was on the news. We got interviews, like just walking in the game, me, Darren, and Michelle. So that was good to see, as well as the feedback we got from just random people coming up and going, can we get a photo with your Adelaide Rams sign? We're wearing our Rams shirts. We've seen people in Rams jerseys. Like, it was so good to see, like, that night, just walking around the ground with your sign, bring back the Rams, and people's feedback was massive for us.
Sorry, Aidan.
No, you go.
Even for me, walking back into the main part of the CBD after the game, I had people who hadn't been at the game coming up and talking to me about the Rams, or still asking me for photos. So that was excellent.
I think we'll wrap it there with the Origin talk. Up next, we have Queensland great Australian player and former Rams captain Kerrod after this break. So joining us up now is Australian great, Queensland legend, Broncos player and the first Rams captain, Kerrod. Thanks for joining us.
Absolute pleasure to be here, guys. How are we?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good for a Thursday. Just wanted to quickly have a chat to you about the Rams. You're obviously the captain. How was the Rams' first year? How was the vibe in the city and the crowd numbers?
Well, actually, the vibe was really good. Obviously, taking rugby league to a mad AFL state was obviously going to be a challenge, but obviously the people of Adelaide got behind the Rams after our second year, and my greatest memory is our first home game at the Adelaide Oval, as it was back then. We had 27,000 there. It was unbelievable. The atmosphere was great. We actually won. Did a big victory lap around the field to thank all the fans that turned up, and it was a really, really one of my fondest memories. Actually, yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. So I think the biggest victory by the Rams is like 52-0 against Balmain. Were you playing that game?
I believe I was, yeah. Was it 52-0?
52-0, yes.
Yes. That's right. I think I'm trying to think who played really well that day for us. They scored a fair few tries. Is there someone scored quite a few tries?
Yeah, I think it was the winger. I can't remember his name. Apto?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great, yeah. Graham Addo.
Yeah, Addo. Yeah,
Graham Appo, yeah. Yeah, he was fullback winger, yeah. I remember that, actually, it was at the Adelaide Oval. No, it was at Hindmarsh Stadium.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
What a win.
There you go.
Yeah. So, obviously the Rams got cut after 98, after the Super League kind of war, and what was your reaction, and where were you? Do you remember where you were when they got the cut?
Yeah, I'd gone to England to play over there for sort of 1 or 2 years, and I had sort of plans to maybe possibly head back to coach at the Rams. That was my sort of last conversation with the board and with the CEO. So I was actually over in England, and I heard the news that they had been a victim of the Super League war, and they obviously had to cull 22 teams back to 16. So unfortunately, because the Adelaide Rams are owned by News Limited, it was an easy decision. You're out. See you later. So it was the same with the Hunter Mariners and I think the Western Reds too. So it was unfortunate because I really felt Adelaide was making some really good. The Rams were making some really good growth within Adelaide, and I think they could have been a force to be reckoned with in years to come.
Definitely. We definitely agree here. What's your thoughts on, obviously there's going to be an 18th team, possibly by 2032, 20 teams. Do you think Adelaide has a chance or should have a chance in being considered for a spot back in the NRL?
I couldn't agree more. I think if it's going to be called the National Rugby League, we've got to have teams right throughout Australia, not just just from on the eastern states. So I really think that Adelaide and obviously Perth should have a team as well. But obviously we're all concerned about Adelaide. So I think the support that the Adelaide people showed rugby league when we were there, we had an average team at that time. So, but I'm sure that like the Melbourne Storm they had an average team as well. So, and they grew. Obviously, they're one of the best teams in the competition the last 10 years. So, I think that the people of Adelaide love their sport as well. So, you talk about the Melburnians loving their sport, but Adelaide people really get behind their sporting teams and support them really well. So, that's why I reckon they should have stuck with it, and they would have had a team that they could all be proud of now.
100% agree with you. So we're talking about your favourite memory. Obviously, it was at Adelaide over the first game. What was it like going to train in Adelaide compared to like Queensland where you play for the Broncos? Was it like, would anyone kind of rock up and do you have any fans that would go to the training sessions? Was the facilities, were they okay? Were they B grade? Like, what was that like?
No, the facility were pretty good at that time. I remember it was always, I lived out at West Lakes, and it was always about 20 minutes from my place to training. So, but if you lived in sort of Brisbane or Sydney, the traffic can sometimes be a major drama. So, but I'd leave home every time of that day and get there in 20 minutes. So it was great. It was a really livable city. And in regards to training, there was a few people who would turn up here and there to watch us train and support us. But we sort of ran pretty low key in the first year. But in the second year, I think people started to sort of understand who the Rams were, and they were a team to be sort of proud of. And unfortunately, during our 2 years, the Adelaide Crows, I think they won the flag both those years, so we're sort of up against it. But but I think we sort of made some really good inroads into getting the people behind us.
Definitely. So I've just got a couple of fan questions from our Jumback Army Facebook page, if you wouldn't mind answering.
No problem.
Okay. The first one is from my wife, so this should be interesting. Do you think the mighty Penrith Panthers can get the three-peat?
Well, they're going to be up against it because it's the last team that won 3 in a row. I think was Parramatta. So, and the Broncos were the last team to win 2 in a row back in 92-93. But then obviously the Roosters did it in I think 18 and 19. So it's very hard to win premierships now in the NRL because the salary cap has really had a huge effect on teams being dominant over long periods of time. But I think it's a really even comp this year, and I think that the Broncos are right up there with a chance as well. Obviously, Penrith, South, Melbourne. There's probably 6 or 7 teams could actually win it this year. Which, if you said that last year, you think you're mad. So very even comp this year. But yeah, they're a chance. They certainly are a chance. They've got some quality players. So
yeah, it's definitely gonna be hard without Nathan Cleary for the next 6 weeks with his hamstring. So. They'll test.
Yeah, that'll test it. The halfback they bring in off the bench, I had quite a good game, so good test for him. So yeah.
This is my question that I had. So obviously I'm a massive Queensland fan because I'm a normal person, not like them New South Wales fans. Did you watch the game, obviously, and what did you think of the performance? And what did you think of the crowd from Adelaide?
I knew they'd get a good crowd there. It's a shame they didn't get a sellout, but was it still 43 or 44,000? And was it 50,000? 48,000 in a 52,000 seat stadium. Was it 52 or
52? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's still a good roll up for a Wednesday night. And I think by all reports the atmosphere was really good, and the players really enjoyed playing there. So just on that note too, I'm a big fan of us taking Origins to Adelaide, Perth, and Melbourne. I just think that. It means that there's one game in Sydney, one game in Brisbane, and so then the other is a neutral ground. I think it's a great chance to sort of take our product and show how good our game is to obviously Perth and Adelaide, and to show that and to get some more momentum into getting a rugby league team back in those 2 cities. So, what was the question again? I've sort of diverged a bit.
So how do you think that Queensland played on?
They played fantastic. Once again, they had that never give up attitude, even when they were down to 12 members with the sin bin, and that's just the mentality of that's been inbred in Queensland over the last 30 years. That you turn up and you have a crack against all odds, and we've got a couple of class players that can those clutch moments can make things happen, like the Cameron Munsters and so forth. So. New South Wales, they've hit the panic button pretty quickly, but I think it was only 6 points in it, so they could quite easily reverse the tables at Suncorp in a couple of weeks' time. So, but I'm sure they'll be 52,000 Queens supporters trying to make sure that doesn't happen.
Definitely. So it was funny. I was at the game on Wednesday, and when we lost, we got the old mate to the bin, and New South Wales in front.
Flegler.
Yeah. My wife said, "Never doubt a Queenslander." I was like, "It's all over. We've got no chance." She said, "Never doubt a Queenslander," and then we put on 2 tries with 12 men. That was amazing. That was so good. And
I mean, obviously, it was. I mean, probably the lucky thing for us was the fact it was Flegler as a middle player. So sometimes it's easier to defend when you lose a middle player than like an edge player, like a centre or a second row, because that's when the really clever players can exploit you in defence. But if you're in the middle, sometimes you can cover that. So, but once again, it was just a mighty effort. And New South Wales were obviously very disappointed with their loss, but 3-game series. But I'm pretty confident we can get the job done in Suncorp in a few weeks' time and take another series.
Definitely. So just on the sin bins, have you ever obviously been sin binned, and do you remember being sin binned and what you'd done?
Yeah, I mean, sin bin back then was you had to do something pretty bad to get sin bin. Now you've just got it's unbelievable. I just can't believe how players get sin bin for such minor indiscretions. I know the game has certainly changed for the better, but the Thomas Flegler sin bin in the Origin, that was just ridiculous. It's a physical game. That wasn't I didn't think it was a shoulder charge or a dangerous tackle. So the game is such a fantastic product now, and it's very frustrating for someone like myself that had sort of played in a different era, and to see some of the sin binnings that's occurring and totally changing the game. I think that we need to understand how much sin bin affects the team, and does that illegality warrant costing a team a victory on most occasions. So that's something that they really need to look at is the sin binning and the hip drop. That hip drop tackle has got me baffled.
Yes, everyone.
I don't know what it is. I mean, it's come to the if you get an injury, they want to suspend someone or send them off. I mean, it's a physical game and it's a contact sport, and unfortunately, sometimes you get an injury just through bad luck and through misfortune. So you can't be penalising players every time someone gets injured because it's just not the right way things should be done.
100%. I remember last year when we had the Magic round in Queensland on Brisbane, it seemed like every 5 minutes someone was going to the bin for something like high tackle and this kind of ruined the spectacle. Like you need 13 to have a great game. As soon as someone goes to the bin, it just gives them an unfair advantage. And if you've got a decent team, you're going to put points on. So
it does, and also the suspensions for minor illegalities. I think they should just look at the fine situation. They should have a grading situation where if it's a grade 4, that's when you get suspended. But anything below that, it's just a fine, because the people want to turn up each week and see the best players playing in their teams each week. And because the comp's so even now, if you lose one player, it could mean not another loss. So I just think they really need to look hard at. No player goes out there in the modern game to do something illegality to hurt or harm a player. The game's too fast, and they just don't. That's not how the game's played anymore. So I just think they really need to look at those suspensions, and the game needs to have all their great players playing each week, because there's a lot of injuries now as well, which we lose a few players for as well. So
yeah, I 100% agree with that. So just got one more question. You kind of half talked about it before. So obviously your brother is a coach for the Broncos, and you said you would get into coaching back then. Would you be interested in coaching these days, or are you over that? Is that like a...
Well, my time's passed. I mean, I did have a job in the Queensland Cup, but I ended up moving on from it. So the game's certainly changed, and you need to be involved in the game the last 10 years or 15 years to get any sort of credibility. It's because I'm retired back in 2000, which is 22 years ago. So so it's just amazing how much quickly the game and that is the outstanding thing with Wayne Bennett, to think he's still coaching at that level, and he's 73 years of age and still has the respect of his players and gets the best out of his players, and they don't think he's too old and he's got nothing to offer. So he's managed to adapt to the modern game. But having said that, the game is still the same. You run, you tackle, you pass. And I think that's how the game has changed. In one negative fact is the fact that they've tried to overcomplicate a simple game. I mean, the best teams run hard and they tackle hard. That's always been the case since 1908. So, it's just there's a few things here and there where the game's changed in regards to how it's played. But the best teams are the best defensive teams, the ones that run hard and tackle hard. That's what Penrith have done really well the last few years, and that's what Brisbane are doing well this year. Is that they've certainly got a lot of skill, but they're tackling, they're running hard and they're tackling hard. It's simple as that.
100%. Yeah, defence wins premierships.
It does.
Just
Yep.
before you go, if the Rams did come back, would you support the Rams?
I certainly would. Yeah. I mean, I think I would certainly support the Rams, and I know that there's a lot of people throughout Australia that would support the Rams, because I think the one team, one city works. I mean, you look at in the AFL side of things, the Brisbane Lions, one team, one city have got a lot of support in a rugby league mad city. And then obviously the Sydney Swans were the first. They'd had a lot of support since day one. There's obviously another team in Sydney now, but when the Swans were first in the competition for Sydney, they had got a lot of support. So the one team, one city works because of the sheer volume of people that live in the cities, and also that people want to get behind it, the local team, and support them. And they've got a great facility there at Hindmarsh Stadium. It's really close to the city. It's a rugby league rectangular field, which is how you got to watch our game. And I just think that I'd certainly support it. I'm sure that a lot of other teams would as well.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Kerrod, for joining us today. Bring back the Rams, hey?
Bring back the Rams. Bah! Bah!
That was awesome. Thanks, Kerrod, so much for that.
My pleasure, guys.
And we're back. And what a great interview that was, Simon. It was very informative, and it was great to talk to.
It was great to talk, Kerrod. It was good to see his support of the Adelaide Rams still after all these years.
Yeah, fantastic. And a lot of what ifs. What if he actually got the coaching position? Lots of what ifs in that sort of scenario. But anyway, on to the next segment of the podcast. We'll be talking about the round 14 game of the week. So my game of the week, I think Simon's pick as well.
Yep, definitely.
Raiders versus Tigers. What did you think of that one?
Raiders Tigers. So the Raiders started so good, and it was looking like the poor Tigers were going to have a bit of a struggle there. 18-0 up. I was like, okay, shut the gates. It's all over. And then the Tigers came back and it was 18-all, and I was just praying for the Tigers, and they got the field goal, got in front.
Make them.
It was like edge of the seat kind of stuff. You're like, most of the people would have been so keen to see that the Tigers come back and win, and then the last couple of minutes when they went for the field goal and missed, and then they took out his legs and then got the penalty right in front. It just killed me seeing the Tigers lose that way. But it was such a great game. It's good to see the Tigers improving every week, and I'd love to see him make the top 8. That's what I'm saying.
Next year. I think this year hasn't been, and previous years haven't been great for West Tigers, but I definitely feel like something's changing over there. And I think next year they could definitely, try again for a finals run. But giving some credit to the Raiders in that round, Jamal Fogarty.
Yeah, he's been good for the whole year basically. He's a great player. And to see next year when they don't have Jack White, and I think he'll be stepping up and he'll be their gun player.
Yeah. So bet on the Raiders. And Darren, your game of the week.
It was the Panthers versus Dragons. The Panthers getting over the Dragons 26-18. But it came at a price. The Penrith losing Nathan Cleary. He's going to be out for 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. And that also puts a big hole into New South Wales side for the up-and-coming Origin 2. So Penrith have confirmed on Monday that the prize number 7 would miss up to 6 weeks with the injury, ruling him out of Origin and leaving him in serious doubt to play Origin 3 on July 12th.
Yeah, that is a massive out for the Panthers. Nathan Cleary, in my opinion, is the best player in the league. He didn't play so good at Origin, but week in and week out, he's almost automatic goal kicker, try assist, line break assist. He's a big loss. Saying that, Jack Cogger came in off the bench. He's only his 3rd game, his first time kind of playing that many minutes, and he's like a clone of Nathan Cleary. I think he done so well. To see the Panthers win without Cleary that week, it could have easily, Cleary's off, they just go to the word I can't say. They could have just put it in and it wouldn't have been a big deal. They would have said, all right, they lost because Nathan Cleary wasn't there, but they all played well. Guys backing up for Origin. Isaiah Yeo backed up, played great. Brian To'o, Jerome Luai, they all kind of stepped up for him when he got off the field. And the Panthers are still, without Cleary, I still think are still a contender every game, basically.
Oh, absolutely. You'd have to say that, definitely.
Still a contender for the premiership.
Yeah, well, Cleary will be back after 6 weeks, so he'll be back with plenty of time. I think, if I'm going to say it now, this far out, I think it'll be a Broncos-Panthers grand final. I think they're two teams. It's a long way out. Things can happen, injuries, form, but I'd love to see a Panthers-Broncos grand final. It would be great.
Who would be your pick to replace Cleary?
For Origin?
Yeah, for Origin.
I'd say Adam Reynolds. I think he's knows Suncorp very well. He's playing for the Broncos for the last 18 months, kind of thing. He's in great form, and I still have Nico maybe at 5'8", or on the bench, but I don't. People are talking having Nico start at 7. I just think Adam Reynolds is in great form, and the Broncos are in great form.
Can I just throw in another name? Mitchell Moses. Where does he stand?
What's your opinion on Mitchell Moses? I'll tell you mine in a sec, but Aidan, what is your opinion of Mitchell Moses?
Probably I wouldn't have a strong opinion on this one, so
yeah.
probably.
So I'll tell you mine. So I hate Parramatta. I hate him. I'm a Manly fan. Manly hate Parramatta. I think Mitchell Moses is good at club level, but he's not consistent enough to play Origin. He plays good in patches, but I never see him kind of dominate a game like for Parramatta. If Parramatta are going well, it's usually he's playing okay, but then they've got Dylan Brown, who is now been stood down by the NRL, but he's usually there and doing, and then they've got Clint Gutherson at the back. Yeah, he's there as well. If they don't, I think if they don't have Mitchell Moses in the team, Parramatta still can replace him. Like, he's good, but he's not Nathan Cleary great. Right, he's not Adam Reynolds great. Nico Hines great. That's just my opinion, but I'm not a fan of Mitchell Moses really.
Right, cool.
Alrighty.
So go on to I'm guessing the player of the round for all three of us. So I was thinking about this very, very much, and I did say originally I was going to say James Tedesco was my player of the round after Origin, and I've last minute switched it to Api Coruscant. I think his Origin game, I think he's played a great game, not really getting the credit he deserved, and then obviously the Tigers form backing up. Api Coruscant is a major reason why the Tigers are going well, and he's my player of the week.
Api Coruscant, yeah.
Darren?
Haven't got one, sorry.
Haven't got one?
No.
So you can say James Tedesco is your player of the round
yeah.
by default. Yeah.
Yep.
How about you, Aidan? Your player of the round?
Johnson, New Zealand.
Johnson?
Yeah.
From New Zealand. Yeah, he's
to
be fair, the last few seasons he's been a bit off. But this year, I think their new coach, they got a Parramatta assistant, and he's been great all year. So yeah, I definitely agree. He had a great game on the weekend. We'll go to the tips for next week. I'll go through it, and you can just kind of add in your part. All right. So Thursday night at Seabar Super Stadium, we've got the Gold Coast Titans versus the West Tigers. Darren, who's your tip?
I think I'd have to go West Tigers.
Tigers?
Yep.
Aidan?
Titans versus West Tigers. I'm going to say, look, I love the Tigers, but I'm going to say, Tigers can win this one.
Tigers. So the big thing about the Titans, they've got AJ Brimson coming back, which is a big in for them. They've still got Kieran Foran, he's still out. Sam Verrills is starting. They've got Tino, obviously, but David Feed is out, which is a big out for them. I'm going to go the Tigers. I think the Tigers, and I think they'll win by 13 plus. I'm just going to say it.
13?
13 plus, yeah. I think they'll, because the Titans, they kind of fall asleep in the second half, and I think that's when the Tigers will just run over them.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Friday game, the early game, is the Raiders versus the Warriors at Canberra. Darren, who's your tip?
Oh, this one's hard one. I'm going to stay with the Australian. I'll go Raiders. Yep.
Aidan?
Yeah, Raiders for sure. Raiders.
So the Warriors have been in great form, but because I'm from Canberra, I'm definitely going to go to Raiders at home. Okay, so we go on to the late game, which is the mighty Manly Seagulls at Brookvale against the Dolphins. Who's your team? Darren, I should even ask you this question.
No, pretty easy. And with Tedesco coming back.
I mean Turbo, yeah.
Sorry, Turbo coming back. I'll go Sea Eagles.
Sea Eagles. Aidan?
Yeah, I'd say Sea Eagles as well.
I reckon, yeah, I'm a Manly fan, obviously, but I think, the Sea Eagles, but I think it'll be tight. Teddy. I've done a U. I think Turbo's a big in, but they got Hammer at fullback. He's been playing great. It's going to be a battle of the forwards, I think, and I think, I'm going to go Manly by. I was going to say 50, but now I'll go to 2 points. There we go. All right, so we move on to the Super Saturday games. The early game is the Dragons, Dragons at home versus the Rabbitohs. Who's your tip, Darren?
Dragons.
Dragons. Aidan?
Rabbitohs.
Rabbitohs. I'm just looking through the teams now, so I hate the Rabbitohs so much, but I think the Rabbitohs will beat to the Dragons. The Dragons, it's really up to Ben Hunt if they play well. So I think that the Rabbitohs will win that. Okay, the 5 o'clock game is at Suncorp, and it is the Broncos versus the Knights. Darren.
Better be careful what I say here. I'm with a Queenslander. Knights.
Knights. Aidan?
I think Broncos will win this one. They're pretty... I think Broncos will win this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go Broncos as well. I think they're just in too good form. And you look at their team, it's a great-looking team. I think the fact that Kalen Ponga has gone back to fullback will help the Knights. But at Suncorp, they'll probably have 40,000 there. Hopefully. They don't really show up on a weekend. They like their Friday games. But I think that the Broncos for that one. Okay, so we go to the next game, which is the late game on Saturday. And it is the Roosters at Allianz Stadium versus the mighty Penrith Panthers. Who do you think, Darren?
Panthers.
Panthers?
Panthers.
Panthers? Yeah, I think the Panthers will win this. I think it'll be a good game for probably the first half an hour. And I think that the Panthers will run away with it and win by 45, 50 points. No, I'm just kidding. I reckon they'll win by 2 tries. Okay, we go on to Sunday. This will be interesting. So the Storm at home versus the Sharks. Darren?
Storm.
Aidan?
Sharks. I don't think Storm's been in good form this season.
No, I'm going to go Sharks as well. I think they're still missing Pappenhausen at the back. That's the big thing. See if they got Nelson's back. He's my favourite non-Manly, non-Panther player. Nelson Asafa-Solomona. He is a beast. I remember seeing him at Brookvale, and I was sitting in the front of the crowd, and I was behind the players' bench, and he was in front of me. I couldn't see anything because he's just huge.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of him. So, but I'm going to Sharks. Yeah, okay. And then we've got a Monday game, and this is the Bulldogs versus Parramatta. Darren?
Bulldogs.
Aidan?
I'd say Bulldogs would win this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bulldogs as well, just because Dylan Brown's out. I think it's a big out for them. And I think the Bulldogs will win it. I think it'll be a close game, but Reid Marnie's been in good form, so I think the Bulldogs. And then the Cowboys have the bye. So the bye versus the Cowboys. Darren, who's going to
win? Ooh, Cowboys.
Aidan?
The bye.
Yeah, I think the bye's got the Cowboys. Cowboys covered, to be fair. Okay, so tips are done. So the dud of the week. This is an interesting segment we've got going. So my dud of the week goes to the whole New South Wales team. And the coaching staff and the physio. I think that they just didn't turn up on Adelaide, and I hope for game 2 they kind of show up a bit better and kind of make it more of a game, even though I want Queensland to win by 50. Darren, do you have a dud of the week?
No, I don't. No.
Just this podcast, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, Aidan, have you got a dud of the week?
Yeah, Melbourne Storm.
Melbourne
the whole
Storm.
Melbourne Storm game, against the Cowboys. That was just a sloppy game. I did not like the form of the Storm when watching that one, and they just couldn't match the energy that the Cowboys had. Big dud. I would also say Dolphins.
Yep.
Bit of a dud. I thought the Dolphins could perform better. I thought they could perform better against the Warriors.
Yeah,
but,
they just didn't show up, did they? They really didn't show
nah,
up.
wasn't me.
Okay, so going on from a dud of the week, we've got the thug of the week. Okay, my thug of the week will not change throughout this whole year, and it's my most hated player in NRL. Besides the Parramatta team, it's Cody Walker. I think he's a thug. Not so much the last couple of weeks. He's kind of toned down, but he's just a thug. Darren, who's your thug of the week? No one? No. Let me put someone in for you. Who's a thug? Nah, I got no one else. How about you, Aidan? Have you got a thug of the week?
Thug of the week. Let's just think. Here's the thug of the week. Reece Walsh. Yeah. Reece Walsh, thug of the week for me.
Reece Walsh, yeah, he was a bit of a thug. But I did like to see that in Origin, bit of biff. It was a bit of good. So Reece Walsh.
biff in Origin, to be honest.
Yeah.
We weren't really getting enough of it. And I think it's
They
kind
need
of...
the call cattle dog back, I reckon. Just have a big biff. Get it done in the first 10 minutes and then play footy.
That's right, yeah.
All right, so that's done for the Thug of the Week. So coming off the break, we're going to talk about the Rams. Be right back.
Alrighty, welcome back. And now for the final segment of the podcast, we'd like to do some discussion about expansion, NRL expansions, the news around that. And but first things first, we should start off with sort of like the reception of rugby league in Adelaide after Origin, and maybe even just a little bit about before as well, just to see, discuss, how people in Adelaide felt about Origin, how they felt about rugby league, because there's been a lot of discussions in the news recently. Adelaide should be included in the expansion plans, especially after Origin, given the crowd size and everything and the reception. So why don't we just dig through sort of like, how did people sort of, perceive, how are people feeling after State of Origin in regard to a potential Adelaide NRL team?
So I'll start off. So after Origin, I had a lot of interviews with ABC Radio, SBS, ESPN, about the Rams. Where was I going with this? I've cut that out. We'll start again. All right. Okay. So talking back about the Rams, I did have a lot of interest after Origin. Had a few interviews with ESPN, ABC, and SBS. Also found out that when I went to work, a lot of people at my workplace were talking about Rams, talking about Origin. It wasn't usually when I go to work in Adelaide, it's a lot about the AFL. But I felt like after Origin, it was a lot more about rugby league. Even people who didn't know anything about rugby league were talking about rugby league, like the big hits, the tries. So that was big. Darren, do you have anything you want to kind of talk about after we went to that great Origin game in Queensland 1?
Well, I just think, as I said before, that for me, I was approached even leaving Adelaide Oval and in the main part of the Adelaide CBD. So people who had not come to the game saw my shirt, saw my Rams sign, and were just approaching me wanting to find out more. So people are definitely interested, and it's not just people who went to the State of Origin. It's people in the streets. There's definitely a lot of interest in the State of Origin, and there's even talk about Adelaide hosting another State of Origin.
Yeah, definitely. I think if we host it again, we'd probably beat 48,000. That was like a taste of Origin, and I think there's a taste in the mouth for Adelaide. And I also talking about our petition. That we have, the Rams petition, the amount of signatures I got after Origin. So I think before Origin we had about 800 signatures. Now it's 400 signatures now. Now it's gone up like 100 signatures. So like the interest is there obviously, but Origin definitely helped. And let's just keep that wave going. Like let's keep talking about Rams, talking about South Australian Rugby League, and get people interested. Also, we'll go on with our interview with Kerrod Walters. So off air we had a bit of a chat to him about the Rams, and we're just talking random stuff. And so in 1999, after the 98 season, he went to Super League for a year. He said that he was going to play Super League, but then he's going to come back to the Rams in a coaching position, which I didn't know about. So it would have been interesting to see, like crystal ball, if the Rams didn't get cut in 98, and we go forward to 2000, 2001, how we would have grown having Kerrod Walters on the coaching staff, and what players we could have attracted, and what the future would have been if we didn't get that nasty phone call and got cut. Because Kerrod Walters was in England when he got the phone call that the Rams had been cut, which is crazy to think. Imagine being the first captain and it's like your baby, isn't it really? Like, and they ring up and say, oh yeah, no more Rams. Oh, that'd have been devastating for him.
He was basically the heart and soul of the club, and yeah, to find out that he wouldn't be coming back in a playing or coaching role the next season, it would have been devastating.
100%. So, talking about Kerrod, we'll cut that straight away, and we'll go over to the expansion that's been in the news big this week. Aidan, I think you want to talk about this more, but I'll just say, so PNG was one of the names I've been heard for an expansion, and obviously the Brisbane team, which I think Aidan's going to talk about, Brisbane Tigers.
Yeah, so PNG has been in the talks for I think about a year now regarding rugby league expansion, and the sort of like the logic behind the NRL's is basically there's a few like layers to that expansion area. Biggest sort of like reason is because of all the talent that they get from PNG. PNG is a rugby league country,
Crazy rugby fans, yeah.
The second sort of layer in regards to that expansion bit is because of the I've read something about soft political bloc to block the influence of China or something like that.
Yeah,
to get close to Australia by sharing by the NRL. And look, there's a lot of controversies around that. Even a lot of people, people with PNG heritage in the NRL themselves have even said, some have said that they'd back it, some have said that they wouldn't back it, that it's not ready. Lots of different arguments regarding that. For me, I don't think it's the best idea. I don't think it's an idea that would work, and I don't think it'd be great for the league. The PNG Hunters are obviously in the Queensland Cup. That is good, and they have won a premiership, and so that is what I think is good. But I think there's a lot of structural issues in having PNG in the NRL. But recent talks have been for eastern suburbs in Brisbane, also known as the Brisbane Tigers, Queensland Cup team, they've put in like a $10 million bid to join the NRL, right? They tried to last time as the Brisbane Firehawks, but they lost to the Dolphins, and they're trying again with the $10 million bid. I don't think they're going to call themselves the Firehawks again this time around. They've sort of been a bit ambiguous with what they're going to call themselves, because they can't be the Tigers, because we have West Tigers in the league already. But there have been talks about potentially merging with the PNG bid.
Yeah, right.
And that is what I found interesting about it, because like the whole PNG thing I think is ridiculous. Yeah. But having Brisbane Tigers merge with PNG, it sounds crazy. But it's something that's being seriously considered.
It probably could work, yeah. Like have the Queensland Cup team with all their talent, and then they can play for them or play for the Brisbane Tigers, and then they can be their feeder club to whatever the Brisbane team we call the Brisbane Lollipops or the Brisbane Ponies or something, or the Brisbane Fairies or whatever they want to call themselves. I seriously don't think they need another team in Brisbane.
No,
they need
absolutely.
They need a team in Perth. They need a team in Adelaide. I think Perth definitely deserves a team. They're mad like we are about sport here. Adelaide needs a team. And then for the 20th team, that's up for discussion. Like the Bears, there's so many Bears fans. I always hear about the Bears. Would they go to North Sydney with North Sydney Bears? Is there too many Sydney teams? People say Hobart, Tasmania. Like the 20th team, they could have the Bears relocate somewhere. But I just think, 18th and 19th. If Adelaide doesn't get it, I'd love to see Perth get a team.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of our Rams fans at the game had a bit of a scuffle with Gus Gould. He mentioned, do you remember this, Simon? We were talking about it in the chat.
Oh yes.
Yeah, one of our Jump Buck Army members actually said to Phil Good, about the Adelaide NRL expansion, and he straight up just said, "No, Adelaide's never going to get a team."
I had the same conversation with me and my wife had a conversation with Phil Gould about like how we were doing the Ram stuff, and he basically, like, to say it badly, he shat on our dreams. Like, I don't think he knows as much as he thinks he knows about expansion. Like, he's all in that New South Wales bubble. Like, think outside the box, mate. There's how many people in South Australia? They're fans. Like, how many people in Perth? Like they're fans. Like, you need to be in national competition. You need them two teams. To say that no, and that's a kick in the guts, man. That's a kick in the guts. And I had a lot of respect for Phil Gould because what he done for rugby league for the Panthers. But when he said that, I basically walked away. I'm like, man, you don't say that. Like, it just brought us down. So I totally get why we had an argument with Phil Gould.
Yeah, that sort of arrogance there is not going to help. Our sort of white petition to get Adelaide in the NRL, because we really, are serious about this petition, this sort of bid, and we'd love all your listeners to help us by signing that petition.
Yeah, definitely go to our Facebook page. There's a link tree there. Follow the link. Yep. There'll be a link for our podcast and for the petition. The petition is the main thing we want you to do. If you can sign our petition If we can get 1,000 signatures, that will mean so much to us, and that will help us put it to Parliament, give it to the government, and to say, listen here, guys, this is what we've got. Help us out. Give us some backing, like the Brisbane bid has, the $10 million. If we can get a bid from the government, $10 million, imagine how big that'd be for us. We'd be serious contenders.
$10 from a government, from a financial sort of point of view, a big investor coming in, or a government incentive of $10 million, if that's how much it's going to take to start a successful NRL franchise, it's really not that much.
No.
And you think
it's like a dip in the pond, eh? Like it's nothing. Like they got chump change of that, haven't they?
The way that I see it, an NRL franchise, it's not going to be as costly as it would be like an AFL franchise, like Tasmania. It's cost them like how much? Like $50 million. No.
Yeah. Well, they get a new stadium too, as well. So like for the stadium for the Rams, Highmarsh Stadium. I went there the other week for an interview with SBS. I looked around the ground. It looks nice for a ground for rugby league, just for a startup. It would probably sell out. The only concern I had, and I think we've talked about this, Aidan, before, is the dimensions of the field.
Yes.
I think they've pushed it in a bit too far to have a rugby league ground there. But saying that, they could easily push a few seats back on one of the ends and make it back to rugby, because they played there as the Rams in 1998. So it's where we used to play. We surely could get back there. Bit of funding from the government to polish it up a bit, make it nice. It's a nice looking ground. It's in a good area. It's easy to get to. We just need obviously first to get at a team, and then the government just to be on board, which is going to be the hardest thing, I think.
Absolutely. Alrighty. Shall we wrap things up there?
Just one thing. I think if we can get government on side and some financial from the government, it would also be a sign for private investors. They can say, well, the government's now on board. It looks like a safe bet. I will invest in the team for Adelaide.
We could get Coopers to invest because they own the stadium. South Australian, Farmers Union Milk, they could be a sponsor.
Yeah.
There's so many South Australian-based companies. We just once we get that 1,000 signatures, I'll harp on it every week. If we get 1,000 signatures, and I'll go to Farmers Union Milk. I'll grab a milk and I'll go, here is our petition. Give us some money. I'm not leaving. No, I wouldn't do that. But we just need the signatures to show the interest, get the backing, and never know. 6 months we could be a serious contender. We just obviously got to stay positive and then keep this podcast going and keep the Rams fans in the loop of what's going on.
Definitely.
Let's make it happen, boys.
Bring back the Rams.
Yes.
Bring back the Rams.
All right, so just to wrap up, guys, we're going to cut it there. We're going to go home to our families. Make sure you jump on Facebook. You going to say something, Darren?
Oh, just before that, we're also looking for expressions of interest, whether we put on a Rams fan forum, because we want to hear from our fans, and probably want to hear from us how we intend and what we want to do to campaign for a team. We haven't got a venue or a date yet, but if you are interested in coming along, meeting other fans, meeting us, you've heard of it, you've heard us. Now, if you want to meet us, send an email to admin, that's ADMIN, at ozsports, ozsportsonline.com. We'll add you to our list.
So saying that, definitely jump on our Facebook page.
Yes.
You can. We have a Facebook group called the Jumbuck Army. Join that group, and you'll be able to see all of our the forum we're talking about. Obviously, sign that podcast. We have Instagram page as well. Bring back the Adelaide Rams. You can't miss it. And then we've got the podcast page. And we just appreciate your support. It just means a lot to us, Adelaide Rams, us three. And I know if we get a team back, and you could possibly be fans in the future.
Fantastic.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you next week.
See ya.
That's a good day.
Go the Rams.
Adelaide to bring it out from their own line. And met by some very willing Auckland defence. And pushed back a couple of metres. Kerrod just goes from dubbing half to pick up Darren Doherty. 25 metres out from his own line.
As now the Adelaide Rams make their way out onto Marathon Stadium for the first time.